This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening and welcome to the July 17th, 2024 South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order. We have all commissioners present this evening. At this time, I'd like to ask you all to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to announce that all public sessions of the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners are electronically recorded, filed, and posted to the Township website for public access. At this time, I would ask our Township Manager, Tom Petrucci, to please review our public virtual meeting rules.
Thank you. The public virtual meeting rules are as follows. Courtesy of the floor for non-agenda items will be at the beginning and end of the agenda. Public comment will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. For all listed agenda items, the board president will call for courtesy of the floor prior to the Board of Commissioners taking action on that specific agenda item. For in-person attendees, please raise your hand to be recognized, then move to the podium when directed. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record and may then proceed with asking your question. For those participating virtually, please mute your microphone or telephone to avoid any background noise that may cause interference during the meeting. The chat box feature will be active throughout the meeting. If you have a comment or question, please type your full name and address into the chat box. The staff member monitoring GoToMeeting will then unmute your microphone and you will have the opportunity to comment or ask a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. I'd also like to announce that the Board of Commissioners met in executive session prior to tonight's meeting and also on June 27th to discuss legal and personnel matters. Agenda item 4 is courtesy of the floor. This is opportunity for any member of the public to comment on any non-agenda items. Is there anyone present this evening who'd like to address the board? Yes, sir. Come up to the podium, please, here. If you would begin by stating your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Don Ringer. I live at 2876 Allison Lane, Allentown. And I'd like to talk about the abuse of our parks, Covered Bridge Park mainly. I was down there on Sunday numerous times. I couldn't believe what I saw. There were at the peak 21 New York and New Jersey license plates in the parking lot. These are not South Whitehall residences. They don't live here. And then if you went over to, what's that, River Road on the other side of the park? Yeah. So anyhow, on the other side of River Road, there were hundreds, and I mean hundreds, of people in the river having picnics, furniture, tables, fires, everything. And I'm not talking about a couple people. There were hundreds of people from below the covered bridge all the way down. They're not supposed to be doing that. And you guys sent, or you folks had one officer stationed there. That's nothing. I mean, that poor guy was taking his life in his own hands by being the only guy, and he couldn't enforce to tell those people to leave the river because he would have been overrun by those people. So something has to be done to control that park, or we're gonna lose it. I mean, it's a beautiful park, and to have it being overrun by people that don't even live here. These people do not live here. Have the gumption, you folks, to do something about this. I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Ringer. For your information, there is an agenda item toward the end of our agenda where the board will be discussing regulations for Covered Bridge Park, so that it will be addressed later this evening. Thank you. Is there anyone else present that would like to address the board? Is there anyone online?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Would you state your name and address for the record?
Yes. My name is Daniel Pooker. I live at 4101 River Road in Allentown. And I have two properties that adjoin Covered Bridge Park on the north side. I really want to echo, I think the first speaker summed it up very, very, very well as to the ongoing problems that we've seen with the park. I've lived there for 40 years, and the the last 5 years it's been getting worse and worse every year with more people, a lot more noise, the boom boxes, the partying and all that, picnic tables drugged down to the creek. The water, there's one deep hole which somebody's going to get hurt, where they have a rope swing. The water's about 5 foot deep. People are diving off of tree roots into this with, again, a real party atmosphere there. Um, it's out of hand, and we're looking at South Whitehall Township to come up with a solution. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. Pucher. Is there anyone else online? The hearing and seeing none. Thank you for your comment, and we will move on to agenda item 5, which is meeting minutes from our January 19th, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting. They were distributed to the board in advance for your review. Are there any comments or questions? May I have a motion to approve? Is there a motion, a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 6 is presentations. Our first presentation this evening, I will begin with having the board consider a resolution. We will be swearing in the fire police for Woodlawn Fire Department. The board was supplied the resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township confirming individuals nominated by the volunteer fire companies as special fire police. It was distributed to the board. Are there any questions or comments on this resolution? Is there any public comment? May I have a motion to approve? Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. At this time, I will be swearing in our fire police. I would ask you all to rise.
The fire police. Just the fire police. Just the fire police.
Oh, sorry.
You could be fire police. I'm sure they
Ask
want
all
more.
the fire
But
police to
for
rise.
right now,
Before we,
get a picture.
well, we'll have them all line up afterwards. I will read out all of your names before I read the oath of office for you all to take. The members of the Woodlawn Fire Department Fire Police are Shokat Mughal, Elman Mughal, Muqaddis Mughal, Tosif Mughal, Mubasha Mughal, Noah Miller, Jennifer Friedman, Jim Gilbert, Farad Malik, Nadeem Maran, Ashni Chowdhury, Amy Bears, Will Schleier, Andrea Search, William Friedman, Sarah May, Bob Himes, Jose Gonzalez, Luis Perez, Daniel Luxembourg, Jacob Yeckel, Craig Eckroad, and David Burns. One note I want to make before fire police, for our community's information, by your name, it might sound like you respond and help our fire departments, which is certainly one of your major roles. I just want to inform the public, your duties are much more expansive and diverse, and the service that you give to our community expands to assist alongside our police officers, our public works employees, our emergency management personnel during emergencies and extreme weather, assisting with road closures, evacuations, volunteering at township events to help the movement of vehicles and speaking with residents. Your qualified drivers for our fire apparatus. You assist in medical calls. You assist in accident cleanup and storm debris mitigation. Those are just a few of the duties that I know you all have volunteered for and very faithfully serve our community. And our board wants to very gratefully thank you for your service. At this time, I would ask each member of the Woodlawn Fire Department Fire Police to please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the ordinances of the Township of South Whitehall, and that I will discharge the duties of Special Fire Police in South Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, with fidelity. If you are in agreement with said oath, please answer, I do. Congratulations. Thank you for your service. Did you all want to gather here in front so that the media could get a photograph of you? One outside.
Dan, the gavel.
You move down here. Look. Great cheese. Where we said it. Thank you.
Good luck. Guess they're not gonna let us put the gavel in.
Thank you.
Dan, they're not gonna let us put the
They
gavel.
don't have one. Oh, we had to go to the courthouse for that.
Moving on to our second presentation of this evening, we're very excited to have Jessica Naderman, Vice President and General Manager of Dorney Park and Wildwater Kingdom here in commemoration of the 100th anniversary of Dorney Park's oldest roller coaster, the Thunderhawk. Jessica, if you would come up to the podium and if you bring your staff with you as well. Very exciting evening. It's wonderful to be able to recognize such a wonderful occasion. I want to thank you for the invitation to the commissioners to join in the celebration of Thunderhawk. A couple of us were able to go out and actually ride the ride again. It's wonderful. But it was wonderful to hear the comments of the different speakers and roller coaster enthusiasts discussing the memories over the 100 years with the generations of families and community members who had ridden that roller coaster. So it was a wonderful event. So thank you for including us. I do have a proclamation to read this evening. The South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners celebrates with you, Dorney Park, on this remarkable centennial milestone event, the 100th anniversary of Thunderhawk. This coaster has stood the test of time, bringing enjoyment to the masses for over 100 years, which is a testament to the quality of the individuals who are and were part of the Dorney Park family for over 100 years. We are honored to have such a business like Dorney Park in our great community of South Whitehall Township, and we truly look forward to the next 100 years. We wish you very much success and congratulate you on a job well done. Signed, the South Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Get a quick picture with you.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you.
How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Get us all in here.
A little bit more. What's that? Perfect.
Can you see him okay?
Yep.
Thank you all for your patience. Moving on to agenda item 6C, we have one last presentation. Our 2024 financial review year-to-date report. Our Director of Finance, Tricia Dickert, will present.
Good evening, everyone. So I just realized I'm the only agenda item under presentations that's not likely to get a standing ovation or applause, but I would just get incredibly embarrassed anyway, so that's not a request. Oh my gosh, guys. Sorry, I have a terrible sense of humor, maybe a good sense of humor, I'm not sure. Anyway, good evening, commissioners. In front of you this evening, we just have a summary of the June financials for the township. I'll just go over it very briefly. I'm not going to read all of these numbers off to you. You have them in front of you. They're up on the screen. Just some things to make note of. As we expected, the general fund revenues are starting to match up to what we would expect after the discount amount of the real estate tax bills has come in. We'll probably see another pretty good push on real estate taxes as we near the 31st of July, because that's the due date for the base amount. And then usually it kind of falls off until the end of the year, people that are wanting to make that payment by the end of the year and just assuming the 10% penalty. It's a little bit clearer, I think, on the fire tax fund because you can see how it's pacing. 80.94% of that revenue has already been realized. It's not quite as cut and dry in general because obviously the real estate tax is not all that feeds that revenue line under the general fund. Everything else you can see is pretty much on target. Water and sewer are nearing 50% of revenue at halfway through the year, which is exactly, I believe, what you would expect. On the expense side, that's starting to pick up a little bit as well. You know, we talked about the last time I was here, sometimes it takes a few months for those projects to really get underway and for those expenses to start to come in. So we'll start to see those percentages get more in line with what those budgeted expenditures were at the beginning of the year. The next page is the refuse and recycling. You can see how that's paced out. And then capital and state highway aid. I know we talked about state highway aid and all of that revenue has already come in, which is why you see that at 100%. Those are really the only highlights that I have. I'm happy to try and answer any questions that you have. I did not bring the full financials with me, but I believe Donna and Kristen are both online. So if you have any questions between the three of us, we should be able to answer them for you.
Thank you very much, Tricia. I do applaud you and your staff for presenting us again with a snapshot of our financials. I'll open up to the board if there are any questions.
No, I appreciate you putting this together, not only for us, but also so the residents can see where their money's going to and how it's being used. And we're doing our best to operate fiscally responsible with their money.
For sure. I appreciate that feedback. And I think sometimes too, you know, we're so used to seeing the massive financial packet that sometimes when you just put the things that everybody really should be paying attention to on a summary page, it's just a lot easier to read, especially for the people that don't look at this every day like we might. I appreciate that feedback though, Mr. Peischel.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Tricia. Of course. We have no ordinances this evening.
I asked for that.
On to serious business, even though that was very fun. Agenda.
It's pretty serious.
It is. We have no ordinances. Agenda item 8, resolutions. 8A, we have a resolution extending the conditional preliminary final approval granted to a major plan entitled Proposed Parking Lot Improvements, 798 Houseman Road. And we have Dave Manhart, our Director of Community Development, to present this agenda item.
Yes, so this is an application to further develop the property located at 798 Houseman Road. The plan proposes construction of a new driveway, aisle, elimination of 13 parking spaces, stormwater management improvements, and the installation of a new water line. The subject property is zoned IC1, and Lehigh Valley Health Network is the owner and applicant. The application was originally approved February 17th, 2021, with 12 conditions. This project has been back a few times for extensions. There was a lot of back and forth with the water line and the relocation and a meter pit and lots going on. I'm happy to say that all of the conditions have been met other than the plan recording. So this is really just a cautionary extension. Sometimes we run into problems at the recorder's office. We just want to make sure we have the extension in place just in case there is a problem. So everything is good to go. I dropped the plans off at Lehigh Valley Planning Commission this morning. So we should have them back in a week or so, if not sooner. So.
Very good. Thank you very much for that presentation. I'll just, of course, ask if our attorney has any comments on this extension request.
I do not. There are no legal issues. I have no objection or problem with what's been requested.
Very good. Thank you.
And I agree with David that sometimes recording the plan these days is taking longer than it used to.
Very good. Thank you very much. Are there any board questions or comments on the extension request? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt said resolution?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 8B, a resolution extending the conditional preliminary final approval granted to a major plan entitled 1215 Houseman Road. Dave, if you'd present again.
Yes, this is an application to develop the property located at 1215 Houseman Road. The plan proposes the raising of the existing barn and construction of a 90,000 square foot flex building, 89 car parking lot, truck court, and associated stormwater management facilities on the 10.7 acre tract. The subject property is zoned IC1. The memo lists Lee Butts as the owner and Forge Development Group as the applicant. However, that is incorrect. That was, I think, the last extension, there was a change in ownership. So we had all of the appropriate assignment agreements done at that time. The new owner is Indus Realty. They're the applicant at the 4751 Chapman's Road Warehouse. So we've worked with them before. They've been plugging away at conditions. A lot of it was once with the new ownership, picking up where the other previous owners left off. So there was a lot of agreements to go through, and they're certainly keeping me busy with things coming in. So they're working diligently to get this moving. So there's been a lot of progress, especially in the last month or so.
Very good, Dave. Thank you. I'll again ask our solicitor, Attorney Zader, if you have any legal comments.
Commissioner Kelly, I have no legal comments, no objection to this request.
Thank you. I'll ask our township engineer, Tony Talarida, if there are any additional engineering comments.
No, and they're complete through engineering, so it's just signing and agreements.
Very good, thank you. Are there any board comments or questions?
The barn that they're going to tear down, is that right across from the rental place, the red barn?
So there's the red barn on the corner when you come across.
Correct. Is that
it's
the
not
one?
that one.
Okay.
No, it's further down Houseman a little bit, and I think it's set back quite a bit.
All right.
Any other board comments? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt said resolution granting a 6-month extension? Motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Dave. Then to item 8C, we have a resolution approving sewer planning module regarding Ridge Farms Phase 1C project. I'll ask our Director of Township Operations, Herb Bender, to please present.
Thank you. The Buckman Twins area, which is the Township Phase 1C of Ridge Farms, is located at the northeast portion of the proposed site near Buckman Street. The proposed Buckman Twins area of the development consists of a total of 34 twins. Excuse me. The residential use will generate a total of 7,582 gallons per day, or 34 EDUs. Based on the standard of 223 gallons per day per EDU, this added flow was previously deducted from South Whitehall Township projected flows in our 21 through 25 projected flow analysis, as well as factored into our 24 first quarter report from LCA. Our current allocation balance is 322,969 gallons per day. The action we are requesting, Public Works is requesting a resolution approving the 34 EDUs, or 7,582 gallons per day of sewer allocation for the Ridge Farms Buckman Twins area.
Thank you, Herb. I'll open it to the board if there are comments or questions. Is there any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt said resolution?
Motion.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Herb.
Thank you.
Agenda item 8D, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township to authorize supplemental appropriations for funds held from the campus renovation project started in 2020 to apply the final expense now being realized within the 2024 calendar year budget. And I will ask our Director of Finance, Tricia Dicker, to present.
Good evening again, everyone. So the campus renovation project had just one item remaining for one contractor. I believe it had something to do with stabilization of the grounds. That work is now complete. The $25,000 that needs to be moved over to a GL line so that we can actually cut the check is cash that we already have left from that particular project. So this is just asking permission to fund the GL line so that we can get out that final disbursement and put the campus renovation project to bed.
Good, thank you. Any board comments or questions? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt said resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. And item 8E, we have a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of South Whitehall Township approving amendments to the rules and regulations for the town's Civil Service Commission relating to the physical fitness examination criteria and passing requirements. I will ask our interim Chief Brown to please present.
Yes, good evening. The police department is requesting an amendment to its current civil service rules for hiring. A resolution to modify the physical fitness examination, which is administered to the applicants in order to more accurately assess their physical fitness. It was passed by the Civil Service Board on July 10th of 2024. We believe this revised physical examination criteria is job-related and consistent with the current position of police officer. Essentially, make sure they can do all the activities that a police officer needs to do, especially coming in as an entry level. We request the Board of Commissioners to make a motion to adopt the resolution to change the provisions of the appendix, it's Appendix A of the Civil Service Rules, to that which consists of the entry-level physical fitness testing requirements utilized by the Pennsylvania Municipal Police Officers Education and Training Commission. That's our certifying agency, it's kind of our post in Pennsylvania. They set out what the requirements are to be a police officer as well as how to be certified for it. So I believe by switching to them, it would be more accurate assessment of police officer ability.
Very good. Thank you, Chief Brown. I'll open up to the board for any comments or questions. Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to adopt said resolution?
I did have a comment.
We do have a comment online. Sir, if you'd please announce your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Mark Granahan, 2400 Weir Mill. And my question to Chief Brown is just, does this resolution strengthen or weaken the physical fitness of the police force?
It's a more stringent requirement than what it is now, because it's the entry level to the academy. So it's basically, they have to run faster, show their upper body strength, and it's broken down by category and gender, age and gender. So it gives a better assessment of their physical abilities.
If you could scroll down, there's a fitness assessment standard for that gentleman to see. 130.
There it is.
Yeah, I'm not in a position to, judge what the standards are, but I just was wondering if it made our police force more physically fit or less physically fit.
It's going to make the requirement to be more physically fit to do the job of police officer. It's basically making it to mirror what that police officer has to do in order to do their job to enter the police academy. Our standards now do not currently reflect that.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief Brown.
Thank you for your question, sir. Is there anyone else online with a question? Very good.
There's your question.
Yes, if you please come up to the podium and give us your name and address, please.
Sure, it's Cindy Rickard, and my address is 1135 North 29th Street. I just have a question. Is there a reason, like, are you saying that more police officers are in harm due to their physical abilities? Like, it's nothing that I'm not, commenting either way, just curious why the change.
No, it's essentially because our process now as it stands, we have a less stringent physical agility test. And if they have to attend the academy and they make it through all of our background and all of our hiring phase, they have to test to enter the academy. And if they can't pass that test, we just wasted all that time, essentially,
Good, yeah.
to get them to that point.
I just thought, is it because you just see that, things have gotten so much worse that they just be like better. I just wondered. Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your question. Or anyone else for public comment? Very good. Hearing and seeing none. Do I have a motion to adopt said resolution?
Motion.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Chief. Moving on to motions, agenda item 9A, we have a motion to authorize the purchase of discounted emergency management incident reporting and incident management software, DH4 volunteer discount option to team manager package, $3,600. I'll ask our township manager, Tom Petrucci, to please present.
Thank you. During emergency events that result in a significant outlay of township and county resources, for example, straight line winds resulting in significant power outages and fallen trees, like happened last night, flooding, icing, gas leaks, etc. South Whitehall Township administrative personnel have identified a need for a cloud-based incident reporting software system that will help to accomplish the following reporting outcomes in a sustainable manner. Track the deployment of resources, including personnel and equipment, in real time. Keep an inventory of key resources. Track the location of individual incidents, for example, the deployment of barricades or the location of fallen trees, in real time during overall events, and to create outcome reports for each of all of the incidents and the overall events to aid with reporting to county, state, and federal emergency management agencies and officials. So in working in tandem with Emergency Management Services Coordinator Jeff Kelly, the township would like to proceed with utilizing the software system offered by T4H at a volunteer discount. It was confirmed that the township is eligible for this discount since the Emergency Management Service Division is primarily comprised of unpaid volunteers. The annual cost of the service is $3,600. The township has the option of trying it out for 30 days and can cancel with no financial penalties within that 30 days. So relevant information was reported within this packet to you, including 2 brochures. We did explore an alternative previous to this. Google Maps and Earth was explored as a possible option, but there are limits to the capacity of the software from both a user and reporting standpoint. The software that we are looking at now is specifically designed and tailored to the needs of emergency management professionals out of the box. I'd also like to note, when you need the software, you need it, and sometimes Google Maps and Earth aren't reliable. So the action we request tonight would be approval of a motion to authorize the purchase of discounted emergency management incident reporting and management software. The D4H volunteer discount option 2 team management package for $3,600. Sufficient funds are available in the IT contracted or information technology networking line item in the general fund. And I will offer that emergency management coordinator Kelly is in attendance tonight if there's any additional questions on this line item, on this agenda item.
Very good. Thank you for your presentation. Certainly does sound like this software could be a very useful tool as our first responders are called out during certainly the storms we've been having lately. I will open up to the board for comments or questions.
Yeah, Jeff, I question. So you hear about after these disasters, we don't meet the minimum amount of damage for federal or state funds. I didn't see it specifically. Are people able to report damage on this, or is this just for the emergency management side of it that people still have to call you about potential damage?
Can you come to the microphone, please? For the benefit of those attending virtually. Thank you.
Unfortunately, people would still have to call us for damage. We can report it on there. It has a map. And the last incident in April, we had drones flying, and they came back to the EOC for, like a quick view of damage. And this, you'll be able to take the drone video into this DH4 software. Anybody at their desk will be able to see whatever the drone is flying or any other information.
So we have potentially to better accurately report the cost of the damages to then potentially qualify for state and federal relief.
Correct. And the county now does have the availability that we can put a link on our website after a disaster for them to do self-reporting of any information. You just put your address in, that brings up a GIS picture. You report, moderate, severe, or uninhabitable damage to it, and the county and the state, and we get a copy of that information. So there is automatic online reporting to do, but there hasn't been an incident yet that we require any type of information.
Thank you.
Aside from the county having access to this emergency management, will it be fire departments and police department, public works?
We can have up to 25 simultaneous users on this. So where I saw it at first was back in maybe March. Whitehall Township recently purchased it. They were going to start using it. So I brought it back to the township manager, Tucci. He did some intensive, thorough background checks on it, and found that it was a tool that we could probably use, because we've tried Google Earth. It was a great idea, but if more than 2 or 3 people signed on, it crashed. We tried paper, we tried Excel spreadsheets, and everything is just too time consuming and cumbersome. So the biggest thing is all our emergency plans can go on here. Presently now, all of our emergency plans, I have a personal Dropbox I put them on. Everybody signs into that Dropbox and downloads them. And this, everybody can have access to it. They have edit capabilities. You'll be able to go on, edit the emergency plans, and put them back on there.
Very good. Any other comments from the board?
I do have a quick question. You answered part of it. You said that Whitehall has it. Do you see this as something all the municipalities are going to go forward and start using? And can you communicate with other municipalities in case you need like assistance?
I think it's an island, unfortunately.
Okay.
It's a South Whitehall island, and Whitehall would have an island, but I don't know if there's any way. Tom, do you know? I didn't see anything.
But what we could do is, basically when we have like county COG meetings, council of government meetings, we could certainly mention this. There's a time where you can bring up, some suggestions and ideas for other communities. We could certainly indicate whether we're having success with the software. I mean, I want to make sure before we recommend it that it is doing as it's intended. But we can certainly communicate that.
Great. I think it's a great.
The guy that actually owns this is an emergency manager over in Ireland, evidently, and he did volunteer rescue forces, and he saw there was a need to get all these resources together. So that's why he was very adamant. This is maybe a $25,000 package he offers to volunteers for, a quarter of the cost.
Thank you. Great idea.
Anything else from the board? Any public comment? Any residents online? Okay. Hearing and seeing none, do we have a motion to approve said motion?
So, and second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And item 9B, we have a motion to proceed with a sole source capital expenditure purchase in the amount of $5,354 for the Jamar Technologies Incorporated Black Cat 2 plus a radar traffic counter with all corresponding components and necessary software. And Tom, if you'd present.
Thank you. So on Monday, June 17th of this year, South Whitehall received the contract for a 2024 local share account grant through the Lehigh Northampton Counties program in the amount of $4,058. The grant scope of work included traffic safety related items, including the purchase of a traffic counter. The township previously inquired with the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission and local technical assistance program representatives on recommendations on accurate traffic counter systems to be used in conjunction with the township's adopted traffic calming policy and to help reconcile data collected from the township speed boards, which we currently utilize. While it is specifically noted that the LVPC and the LTAP representatives were not able to endorse any specific vendor, the township was able to receive helpful information on the best available technology options. So following a review, the township is seeking to purchase one Jamar Technologies Incorporated Black Cat 2 plus radar traffic counter with all corresponding components and necessary software. This equipment is intended to help bolster the township's ongoing traffic data collection initiatives. The township did confirm with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development grant administrator that the township may purchase this equipment without undergoing a specifically identified competitive process. So additionally, the vendor has provided a sole source letter, which is enclosed. Accordingly, I would request action in the form of an approval of a motion to proceed with a sole source capital expenditure purchase in the amount of $5,354 for the Jamar Technologies Black Cat 2 plus radar traffic counter with all corresponding components and software. So to summarize, the cost is $5,354. We have a grant for $4,058. So there would be an expenditure out of the general fund of $1,296.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. Are there any comments or questions from the board on this motion?
Tom, about a month or so ago, we put a motion out to get bids for traffic counting. I think, is this going to work with that request?
It can work in tandem with it. What we had asked for last month was for probe data, which is using like GPS information from like cell phones and your vehicles. So this is more of a traditional traffic counter. It's highly accurate and it can be deployed quickly in various locations. So this is more of a pointed solution where, you know, if a resident is requesting a stop sign or things like that, we can deploy it in a way that we would then be able to collect that data and on our own, without utilizing an external entity, obtain data that could tell us whether that stop sign is warranted from an engineering standpoint or not.
Or like counting cars going into covered bridge park.
Exactly.
Very good. Any other comments from the board? Any public comment? Yes, ma'am.
So I have a concern about this because the traffic.
Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. Just give us your name and address for the record again.
Cindy Rickard, 1135 North 29th.
Thank you.
So I'm a little bit concerned about spending the money on the traffic part of it and not focusing more on what the gentleman said about the problems with people actually ruining the environment and creating a lot of noise and disturbance and all those other kinds of things. I'd rather see money and ideas being focused more towards the community and helping the community, as in, you know, the traffic. The traffic has been, the problem's been created basically from all the development. And now there's going to be more money put in towards that area instead of really controlling the community actions, the fireworks, the noise, the disruptions, all those other things. I mean, you guys do a lot of monitoring of traffic already. I see it all over. And it seems that a lot of people, in my opinion, don't seem to be drastically like disobeying the law like they are as far as like disrespecting values and community and all that other kind of stuff. That's just my opinion. I wish more focus was being put on things like that versus things on, like emergency stuff. Emergency doesn't happen every day like all the other things that are happening in the community. Monitoring traffic. Basically, I think it's pretty easy to monitor traffic. Go to that site and kind of, I don't see it being that difficult. It's just my opinion. Just that's why I'm trying to participate. I mean, I'm trying to represent, community. So thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it, but I think that's where there's a big concern and where money.
I can answer with the last thing you said about, it's easy to collect traffic data. That's true, but we have to follow a process by which to actually have data that can be utilized to make good informed decisions that will then help us from a regulatory standpoint and to make measurable improvements down the line for traffic. So yeah, anyone can count cars, but you have to do it in a way that we can then take to the agencies above us to make measurable improvements at the state level, the federal level. We're working on multiple plans that will help us to address our transportation network and our pedestrian network, which will then impact quality of life, which will then in turn impact the issues that you are also identifying.
Well, I just, I don't understand it then, the reasoning behind it. I just maybe don't understand it. But thank you.
Thank you for sharing your comment. Any other public comments? Anyone online? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 9C, we have a motion to proceed with the purchase of the Ford Pro software in the amount of $2,530. And Herb Bender, Director of Operations, if you would please present.
Thank you. Administration is requesting to move forward with purchasing the Ford Pro software. This software will give real-time data on the vehicles that are on the front line for the police department. The data that will be tracked is to improve asset utilization, optimize running costs, maximize uptime, and improve driver behavior. Attached in this packet is more information on the specific topics that were pointed out along with the list of vehicles that will get the software installed. The cost for adding 22 vehicles at $23 per vehicle equals $506 a month. The total for the rest of the year is $2,530. We're requesting a motion from the Board of Commissioners to approve the purchase for the Ford Pro software in the amount of $2,530. This was not budgeted for in 2024, but due to trending under budget, we will be able to cover the cost out of the IT contracted services account for the software.
Very good. Thank you, Herb. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Any public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve said motion?
Second.
A second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Agenda item 9D, motions authorization for utilization of special fire police. Tom, if you'd please present.
Thank you. So Title 35 of the Pennsylvania statutes requires municipalities to grant authority for special fire police to conduct activities at non-emergency locations. So accordingly, I'm asking for requested action from the board on the following motions. Approval of the use of special fire police in accordance with Title 35 for the 25th annual Night in the Country event to be held on August 17th, 2024 with a rain date of August 18th, 2024 at the location of North Western Recreation Fields, SR 309 and North Western Road. So I think it would be prudent to take both motions individually. So request action on that item specifically.
Very good. We have a motion before us. Are there any comments or questions from the board? Any public comment? we have a motion to approve said motion? I'll make that.
Motion.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, the next one is for the use of special fire police in accordance with Title 35 for the Lights of Greenwald's event to be held from November 9th, 2024 through to include December 22nd, 2024, which are tentative dates at the location of 2040 Greenwalds Avenue, Allentown, PA 18104.
Thank you, Tom. Again, any comments or questions from the board? Is there public comment? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 9E, we have a approval of motion, approval of revised conceptual plan for Vistas Park. And Tom, if you'd please present.
At the May 15th, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting, the governing body approved official action to proceed with advertisement of the specifications relative to the Vistas Park development project, which would be conditioned upon the review and approval of the PA Department of Conservation and Natural Resources project manager. In 2020 and 21, the township was awarded 2 grants funded by DCNR and the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development for the development improvements to Vistas Park. The township subsequently contracted with its engineer, the Pedcock Company, to create a specification for the reconstruction of the 7+ acre park to include amenities such as pickleball courts, walking path around the park, nature play elements, a shade structure with benches, and the reconstruction and expansion of the existing parking lot with ADA walkways being installed. In addition to amenities, the specifications included a new storm storage system, grading topsoil, seeding, and mulching. So as of July 9th, basically want to update you on where the current status of the project is at. So on May 23rd, township officials reviewed the draft specifications with DCNR grant project manager Rick Bogart and received feedback that the original grant application featured more plantings and nature play elements. Specifically, the grant application called for green and sustainable practices, including tree plantings and a rain garden. Mr. Bogart indicated that the township must reasonably incorporate these elements, or most of them. Township personnel then worked to incorporate these elements while still adhering to the reduced budget for the grant project. The revised conceptual drawing was prepared with the assistance of Public Works employee Alexandra Long, and she has a horticultural background. The vegetation and tree planting plan was prepared with her valuable input, so we want to extend our appreciation to her. It is important to note that the township will likely need to seek a 1-year extension of time for the DCNR grant, which expires at the end of this year. It is also important to note that the updated planting plan will cause an estimated $20,000 to $30,000 in additional costs to be incurred for the project, which will need to be factored into the project township budget. However, it is identified that the original grant application as submitted called for a total of $80,000 in plantings. On Friday, July 5th, 2024, DCNR grant project manager Rick Bogart provided emailed correspondence that the revised conceptual design plan assuaged his concerns and deemed the concept plan acceptable to meet the requirements of the scope of work. The township intends to review the revised conceptual layout plan with any interested residents during the Friday, July 19th scheduled Movies in the Park event, which will start at 7 p.m. At the park. And we would like to disseminate information regarding the changes to the overall layout plan from the sketches that were reviewed with residents prior to the submission of the grant application in 2020. Basically, the requested motion at this time is to confirm the following: that the governing body, Board of Commissioners, is in agreement with the revised conceptual drawing dated June 25th, 2024, and to proceed with revising the draft specifications with our township engineer to incorporate the elements specified in the revised conceptual drawing.
Very good, Tom. Thank you for that presentation and for the update to the board on this plan. Are there any board comments?
Tom, did the Green Advisory Council weigh in on the planning of the trees? I know the township employee was very instrumental, as you stated, but are they going to get the opportunity to review this and make comments?
We didn't have that at this time. The EAC is just getting formulated, and they are working on setting the scope of what they will review and the mechanism by which to do so. So we didn't feel it was the right timing to do that. And honestly, we needed to receive the green light from DCNR and to get our grant underway, to make sure we're meeting their requirements. So yeah, at this point, it was discussed by staff to send it to the EAC, but we determined it was premature, since that group has only met a couple of times.
So you're asking for a year extension from DCNR. So will that give them the opportunity?
We would have to send it.
New committee, we'd like to utilize their expertise.
We'd have to then send it to them. That'll put another month or two behind delay on the project.
But you're extending it for a year.
Right, but we have to get the specifications completed with the engineer, so that we can't do that until we know the planting plan. We can do this. I just wanted to make sure you're aware it is going to create another delay.
Is there a particular
We also have been updating the Park and Rec Board with this grant.
You haven't? Or
we have been.
Oh.
Unfortunately, the Park and Rec Board doesn't meet in the summer, but we were talking about sending an update to the Park and Rec Board on certain capital projects, since there are a number of capital projects happening now. So yeah, the EAC has had a pretty full agenda just getting started. And I think at the last meeting, we hadn't discussed this with DCNR fully to get their approval of it. And now I believe we do need to have the species identified to DCNR, if I'm correct. That needs to go to them for us to move forward with the grant extension.
I mean, we could certainly review with the EAC, but if there's substantive changes, that I just wanted to make sure everyone's aware it is going to delay getting the specs finished and eventually advertised.
So, can you clarify for me, we have to have an extension for the grant from the DCNR? That's
correct.
So how far, do you have any ballpark idea how long it will be pushed out for work?
They will, DCNR is indicated they will give us 1 year from the end of this year. So it's not an issue with the construction. So we'll get a grant extension in October, from this time period, from December of 24, it will be extended to December of 25. They can do one extension with very little effort. Basically, the only delay would be getting the specifications done, but I just want to mention it's already, DCNR has already approved it. So if we change it, it's got to go back to then DCNR, then it would have to go back to the engineer, back to the board, and then back to the engineer to have the specifications completed.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any more comments from the board? Chris, did you have any additional comments?
I understand what you're saying. And like I said, I just, we developed that new committee and I'd like to see them. I get it. We don't want to delay anything more than what we have to, but I was just.
Certainly a good thought, but given the timing that Tom just laid out, I tend to agree that this project has been delayed several times.
I mean, we can send them a courtesy copy. I just, I think now that we have the green light from DCNR, I don't want to put us in a position where we have to have substantive changes and then we send it back to DCNR and then for whatever reason they don't like those changes. Because this is a grant funded project, DCNR really holds the hammer here in terms of what they'll accept on the project or not.
Like I said, I just asked if we could. Yeah.
Very good thought. Are there any public comments on this agenda item? Is there anything online? No one online. Hearing and seeing none, we have two motions to consider. The first is a motion to confirm board approval with the revised conceptual drawing dated June 25th, 2024. Do I have a motion? I'll second. Is there any comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Second is a motion to proceed with revising the draft specifications to incorporate the elements specified in the revised conceptual drawing. May I have a motion?
I'll move.
Second. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 10 is correspondence and information items. And Tom, if you'd please review our upcoming meetings.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings and events are as follows. Friday, July 19th, 7 p.m. We have the summer movie at the Vistas Park, which is located at 5320 Clouser Road, Orfield. Monday, July 22nd, 5:30 p.m. we have the Landscape and Shade Tree Commission meeting. Monday, July 22nd, 6 p.m. we have the Environmental Advisory Council meeting. Wednesday, July 24th, 10 a.m. we have a Pension Committee meeting. Wednesday, July 24th, 7 p.m. we have a Zoning Hearing Board meeting. Monday, August 5th, 7 p.m. we have a Public Safety Commission meeting. Tuesday, August 6th, 5 p.m. is South Whitehall Police Department National Night Out. Tuesday, the transportation plan public meeting will be delayed. That will not occur on Tuesday, August 6th. It'll be sometime in September due to the conflict with National Night Out. And Wednesday, August 7th, we have a Board of Commissioners meeting, 7 p.m.
Very good, thank you. Agenda item 11, direction discussion. 11A, we have our South Whitehall Landscapes Plan, Open Space, Historic, Agricultural, and Natural Resource Preservation Plan update. And I'll ask our planner, Chris Stroller, to present.
Thank you, Commissioner Kelly. So last summer, we started the landscapes plan, and we have been working diligently to take all of the pieces from the public engagement all throughout last year to put together the draft. What I have in front of the commissioners is kind of just the initial outline of the landscapes plan. I would say we are 98% prepared with this plan. What I wanted to give you is the outline for each chapter so that we can run through kind of the structure of this. But what we're going through now is kind of just tweaking some of the pictures, some of the maps, and we're doing some proofreading. So before I gave you the full copy of the plan, we wanted to at least run through the outline and talk about next steps so that we can give you a full copy as appropriate. So the main chapters of this plan include agricultural resources, natural resources, historic resources, and open space. All of these are have individual goals that have been developed, which you can see in the packet in front of you. And then at the end, we have utilized the goals and the information that we've gathered to develop what we're calling our action plan, similar to the implementation plan from the Township's comprehensive plan. So this action plan lays out really some of the critical steps to start to bring this plan to life. There are about 30 individual actions that we are working on. Again, the details of this and each one of these will be laid out in the final plan. But what we wanted to bring to your attention is how you would like to roll out the review of this plan from a board perspective and some of our supplemental boards, including the Planning Commission, Environmental Advisory Council, and so forth. And then also I think what's important here is to lay out a potential timeline. A lot of this, as we would like to go through the review process and make sure that we can get it to these boards and appropriate agendas so that everyone has a time to look at it and then think about the adoption. I'll also mention that as we had looked at in the work from last year, we identified a couple of high priority implementation items, which you'll see some reflected in here. For example, the historic resource inventory, which we're working on with our consultant, Jeff Marshall. Some of the ordinances that we have started to talk about, the Jordan Valley open space overlay, zoning overlay, and looking into financing a potential open space program. Last year, we talked about the process for financing an open space program. That could include a voter referendum to increase the earned income tax to support the acquisition of open space and the management of open space and those resources. The timeline associated with looking into a voter referendum is very strict. So what I've laid out on the second page of your memorandum is if we were to pursue actually having a referendum on the ballot for the spring primary election, working backwards from that, what the approval process would need to be. So, for example, in order to make that spring ballot, it seems like a long time away, but we would probably advise that this plan, if it were to be in support of an effort like that, should be adopted around September of this year. And in order to do so, we would like to make sure that we can get the approvals as per the board would like to see from any other supplemental boards or the public. So, for example, we have an Environmental Advisory Council meeting on July 22nd. If we were to send this to the Planning Commission, we would like to take it to the Planning Commission in September, requesting their recommendation for adoption. What we can do is potentially send this out digitally to all members of the board, all members of the Planning Commission, all members of the Environmental Advisory Council, and give them a period of time to review it, weigh in on comments, and submit those comments directly to staff so that we can make adjustments immediately. If the board would like to have an open public comment period, we can accommodate that through the township website. I would advise having that be probably about a 2-week comment period, and we can run that concurrently with board comments, or we can have all the comments from the advisory boards and the Board of Commissioners prior to that release. So some of the specific dates are laid out in the memorandum, and we're really looking for direction on how the board would like to review this plan and move forward towards the steps toward adoption.
Chris, thank you for this draft copy. It's exciting to actually have it in our hands. I know you and Dave and staff have done an awful lot of work to get us to this point. Very grateful for all of the experts and participants along the way that the township brought in to host public meetings here for the community. It's really wonderful. I'm looking forward to digging into this and reading it to learn the direction that you've crafted for us. I will open up to the board initially for questions.
I don't have a question. I just have 2 comments. First, Chris and Dave, thank you. This is the end of a very long, complicated process, which came off another long, complicated process with the comp plan. So this mostly final product that you have in front of us today is very impressive. My personal preference in terms of a timeline is I'd like to get this adopted as quickly as possible, so we can really start diving into some of the action items and checking those off before the end of the year. So however you see fit to roll that out, public comments, Planning Commission comments, EAC comments, concurrent, over the next month or so, month and a half, whatever it's going to take to get this plan adopted, I think as soon as possible. And again, start diving into the action items. That's where I'm at. So if you're looking for specific feedback, that's what I have.
I think, first of all, thank you. And thank you to everyone that's participated in this plan. I think the most encouraging piece of working on this is the participation from the board, the public. I think a lot of people want to see this come together and dive into this. I think from a staff perspective, the timeline that we have laid out there, I think is certainly workable from a staff perspective. And I think it allows enough review time for all of the boards to feel comfortable. And as you can see, I think it's in, Dave, can you actually go back to the previous page? I'm sorry. There we go. In the August 7th Board of Commissioners meeting, if we can send out this plan, the final plan, and this is a small subset, the whole thing is about 140 some pages long, which again, after we do the proofreading and the final touches to some of the maps, we can probably have that out by Friday digitally out to the board, the Planning Commission, to the EAC. And then at the August 7th Board of Commissioners meeting, we can do a touch base on what comments we have received during that time period and talk about what a public comment period could look like. And we can be prepared to have that immediately the next day following on the township website, and a copy of the printed plan out here in the lobby.
I think that's a very appropriate timeline. I would certainly agree with what you've laid out for us. Any other feedback from the board on the timeline?
I agree with it. I think we should keep it moving.
Okay.
And I think it's great that this is finally coming to fruition. It took a lot of hard work, years, and I'm very grateful to you for working on it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will take that direction, continue to work on finalizing the pieces of this, and we will send it out to the three boards digitally on Friday. If anyone would prefer a printed copy, please just let me know, and I can print them and assemble them here, just in an effort to, as part of our preservation plan, preserve paper. I didn't want to print 140 pages of a draft that we are still trying to put the final tweaks on, but we can have that prepared for Friday if anyone would like that.
Most excellent. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Dave and team. Agenda item 11B, regulations for covered bridge park ordinance. Tom, if you'd present.
Thank you. So as noted earlier in the meeting, we are receiving complaints of the following activities at covered bridge parks: loud music played along the banks and in the Jordan Creek, cooking activities, grilling along the banks of the Jordan Creek, taking township properties, for example, picnic tables into the Jordan Creek, placing picnic tables and other objects directly into the creek, littering along the banks of the Jordan Creek and in the creek, and parking in vehicles in areas that are not designated for parking. So township management staff are asking for direction on the following items. So basically the outcome of this discussion would be used to help develop an ordinance. So we're looking for direction specifically on if there's any desire for limiting park access during peak times, which is typically conducted by way of issuing parking passes. We've been talking to other municipalities that have done this in the past. We can write an ordinance that can confirm no amplifiers or generators should be used without a permit, confirm that any cooking apparatus, grills, and utensils are used only in designated areas and not to be brought from home, to be used anywhere in the park, can only be used in the pavilion areas and where designated. Basically, we need to have a discussion on the level of swimming that would be permitted in the creek or not. All these would need to be ordinance changes, and whether the township should continue to assign more police resources to patrol the park during parks and peak seasonal times at an overtime rate. However, we need to note that that was not specifically provided for in the budget, and that would be subject to the availability of said police officers. Also, there's ways to limit the number of people that are able to be on site at a rented pavilion and to conduct parking enforcement activities. Again, that would need to be accomplished by the police department and would be dependent upon staff resources.
Thank you. First, I want to thank you and commend you and staff for your immediate response to the concerns that the community brought to this board as well as to the township. So thank you for bringing this immediately to our agenda for discussion. My question initially, I know we've got a pavilion rental parks, policy, rules and regulations. Specifically, one of the items that you have presented for consideration tonight was limiting the number of people at the pavilions. There are recommended groups listed here. So you would offer to us to actually memorialize that by ordinance where it would be enforceable and we would actually have a limit. I know a couple of years ago we had an issue where one of the pavilions was probably 10 times the amount of people that is recommended. I mean, it was just overrun. And I certainly do believe that we need to establish standards, reasonable standards based on the size of the pavilion, how many people can actually comfortably be accommodated in those structures for the safety of those visitors as well as other residents and visitors in the park. I am in agreement with all of the options you have delineated, and with the exception of the swimming in the Jordan. I'm concerned with the residents' comment earlier that there's a 5-foot deep hole with a swing there. that's a concern that I don't know what the township's authority is to go and remove that swing. But I'm wrestling with this because the creek is a place for visitors to cool off and refresh on a hot day. Where do we draw the line, and how do we begin to enforce swimming? How do we say what swimming is? And I want to provide opportunity for our visitors to be refreshed with the wonderful natural resource. But I do believe there's a balance where we establish parameters for safety and equitable use for all of our visitors.
I would tend to agree with Commissioner Kelly's comments. We certainly don't want to limit our residents' ability to use the creek as it has been used for decades as a place to wade and swim and spend time. I think generally it's not the swimming that's necessarily the problem. It's, as the gentleman said earlier, and we've seen comments on social media, and I've observed it at the park, people dragging township picnic tables into the creek, people grilling in the creek. I think you can target other behaviors and other potential violations, without necessarily prohibiting swimming in the creek. I think one thing we can emphasize is just consistency. I know there's some inconsistency between some of the rules and regulations we have on our website, what we have by ordinance, what's posted in the park, and that I think that makes it harder for our officers or for anybody to enforce. So I think we absolutely need an ordinance sort of outlining rules and regulations for Covered Bridge Park, including a very explicit list of prohibited conduct. And then using whatever tools we have at our disposal to allow our officers to enforce violations of that conduct. I think anything that sort of degrades the quality of life around the park, certainly noise, the big ones, noise, trash, destruction or removal of township property, bringing in propane or charcoal grills that are in dangerous areas, things like that. Things that really negatively impact quality of life, and things that are sort of offensive to ordinary individuals who just want to take a walk through the park on a Saturday. So consistency and emphasizing prohibited conduct, two biggest things for me. And whenever we have to do in terms of assigning more police resources, instead of having just one officer down there, it's tough on him. I think we should do it. Residents have been asking for it. It's a problem, and I think we have an obligation to really take a look at this whole situation and approve an ordinance and then enforce it strictly. That's my ideas.
So I have a few comments as well. I agree with everything that's written that you've put together, Tom. I appreciate it. I disagree with swimming. And from my viewpoint, it's a public safety issue. You really don't know at any given time the depth of that creek, depending on how dry it is, how much rain we've received. You don't know where there's rocks and stones and so forth. And to have people diving, jumping, cannonballing, swinging off that rope swing, I think it's dangerous. It's a spinal injury waiting to happen. That's just my opinion. I think we do need to define swimming. I have no problem with people wading or fishing or families going in and looking at the wildlife. To me, I would prohibit any kind of bathing in the creek, any kind of swimming. That's just how I feel, but I agree with everything here. I want to make sure everyone can enjoy our park. I don't want to pollute it. I don't want it filled with trash. And I think we need to enforce it. We need to do whatever we need to enforce that. So I'm just one voice, but those are my thoughts.
So I know a guy who used to raft with his friends from the Kernsville Dam down to Wares Dam and get out, go from Wares Dam down through Sharesville. I'd like to see that continue, right? So we have to define swimming, but still allow when the flow of the creek is for people to do things like that. It was pretty fun, the guy told me. So, but I would also recommend that we put some sort of device across the river, because we knew to stay away from the dam, both above it and below it, because of the hazards that go with it. I don't know if people nowadays understand Lowhead Dam and all the problems, like potential life-threatening problems that could go with it. So somehow keeping people away from that hazard above and below the dam. I agree with Commissioner Hodges that, you know, you like to take the kids and grandkids in and catch salamanders or whatever, you know, that should be allowed. Enjoying the nature, what we have in our park. The rope, I think we should cut down tomorrow, because that's just a lawsuit waiting to happen, right?
Just to clarify, we have cut it down 5 times already. They just come back and put another one on it.
Well, the rope companies must enjoy the business. The question about the park is, going into the park, is the parking sufficient to handle the pavilions, the picnic tables, et cetera, that we have right there now, would be my question. So if you take the capacity of those things and then, you know, 2, 3 people or 4 people to a car, how does that all lay out? I don't know. That would be my question. Is there enough parking to keep people off the grass? As you know, as for all the other things, taking things into the creek, you know, the loud music, definitely the loud music. We should have an ordinance, put the kibosh to it before it gets out of hand. I've seen parks have bad outcomes because of items that we're talking about today. And the longer it lingers, the worse it got. So the sooner we can move this forward. Chief, I don't know if, you know, the one officer is enough, or I don't know if they get backed up by patrol. But that's another thing to look at, maybe on the busier weekends or whatever. But that's the other thing we look at. And then make sure everything matches. So our ordinance matches what's posted in the park and on the website.
Chief, do we have an issue in the park with, or maybe Public Works, I'm not sure, with visitors parking on the grass?
Not this past weekend when we had an officer there. Essentially, the officer just was informing everybody of where to park. If they did drive up there, he'd ask them to move. They'd move back down to a parking spot.
Has it been a historical problem when busy weekends?
Before the police force put a stop to it, yes, this has been an ongoing issue. This isn't something new. The issue you have is if you're going to the playground, we only have that little parking spot with like 10 cars in front of it. We all know the crowd that draws. The parking lot across the street, you get people that are walking on the path. On the other side, they go across the bridge to get there. That parking lot's full. The parking is not adequate. That's what we're running into.
I think the timeliness of this ordinance consideration, you know, we're working on the next segment of the Greenway, and that's, I'm assuming will potentially draw more visitors to enjoy that portion. And I think it's very timely that we set up standards to assure the public safety and enjoyment of our natural resources. And just to reiterate some of the comments, absolutely nothing should be in that creek of tables, chairs, grills. That's really disturbing to think about the potential impact on our waterways. It's just, it's very unfortunate.
Oh, sorry.
Just say, do we need more signage along the banks? And maybe as we tighten up this ordinance and get ideas, put something that is very specific. So,
Yeah, that was the intent. Once we have the ordinance finalized, then we'll order new signage, which reflects the ordinance. Because as Jacob mentioned, the ordinance, the website, the regulations aren't all consistent currently. So we need to do
improve upon that.
I would just add one final comment. I think this will hopefully show to be a solution, assuming we adopt an ordinance and get it out there. The Trexler Game Preserve had an issue, I remember about 2 years ago, very similar. Lots of cars on the weekend, people in the river, grills, litter, loud music. The county sort of clamped down on that, and they sort of made very clear what the rules and regulations were. They started enforcing it aggressively, and while they still have issues, it isn't as bad. If word gets out that Covered Bridge Park is a great place to go and there's no enforcement and you can get away with a lot of behavior that affects the negative quality of life in the township, people will come out. They will spend every weekend at the creek. They'll continue to grill or drag tables into the creek or play loud music. Same works the other way. If you start aggressively enforcing things, if you make it very clear what the expectations are, what the rules are, people will start to where we'll get around that, that there is a police presence, that this is not a place where you can get away with some of that conduct. And eventually, I think you do that for the rest of the summer into next year, and you'll see a drop off in that sort of behavior and a little bit of order and calm and more respect for the quality of life in the park will be restored. So we do this now. It obviously have long-term benefits. We keep enforcing it, but I think if we have clear expectations and start enforcing it, the problem will take care of itself pretty quickly once word gets around and once it's been enforced a few times.
And we've actually proactively reached out to the county, as well as Allentown and Palmer Township officials to try to learn, from them, from their experiences with the same type of issues, to try to see what works and what doesn't. So we're trying to be proactive to come up with ways that are tried and true, based on other municipalities' experiences.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
I do think the message needs to be firm and we need to be taken seriously so it doesn't escalate even further.
Do you have the direction you need from the board?
Yes, I'll circle back with the next meeting with the draft ordinance. So in the interim time period, I can work with Interim Chief Brown on availability of personnel for police, but we won't be able to do signage or anything like that until we have the ordinance completed. I just want to be very clear on that.
Of course. Thank you. Moving on, we have no old business. Courtesy of the floor. Again, opportunity for any member of the public to approach the board and comment on any non-agenda items. Anyone? Yes, sir.
Hello, is it still open for comment on Covered Bridge Park?
Can we, if you want to do that, we have somebody approaching the podium. So let's let the person hear and then we'll let you
Or you
speak.
could step up.
Dave Torrey, 1351 Deerfield Drive. I think some years ago it was either Lower Saucon or Upper Saucon had the same problem. And I know that, I don't know how they solved it, but I know one of the things is that with a public park, I think the courts ruled that anybody can use it. Am I right on something like that? I think that's what they ran into down in, because it was the same thing. New Jersey, New York, people coming over, trashing the park, same scenario. But you might want to reach out to upper or lower. It's on the rail trail down there. I don't know whether it's upper or lower something.
Yeah, we can reach out to them. Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else here in the room? Yes, sir. And then we'll get to the residents online. Yes, please.
Ray Pivison, 1005 Bryant Street in Allentown. If I may, I know it's on the agenda, but I wanted to say something as you make your look at regulations for the park. Your point on the swimming part, there's fish hooks, a lot of fish hooks in that creek. Possibly just throwing out ideas. A, designated areas to splash or on the water. B, I don't know what the cost is, and it would be seasonal, but perhaps a private type of a firm that could patrol like they do at the Lehigh Valley Mall, things like that. Maybe between 12 in the afternoon or 6 in the evening, kind of see a little bit of, that way it keeps the force back on what they're doing. And I don't know what the cost would be if that's even a thought to come up with. And is it county or is it township's problem? Or is it a combination of the two? But I think
It's a township park.
Township, okay, yeah. And that would be, in my estimation, is the possibility of a private firm be the fish hooks. I see a lot of fish hooking out that way, and with kids walking around no shoes on. Then you got another problem. EMT got all kinds of different things going on. But that was my comments. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in person with any comments? Dave, is there anyone online who'd like to comment?
Yes, I'd like to comment.
If you just please give us your name and address.
My name is Chris Sable, and I live at 2518 Covered Bridge Lane. I live about 200 feet from the entrance to the bridge. My question is about enforcement. I see these people parking on the entrance right off of Weir Mill Road, and they'll either use external speakers or they'll open up the trunk of their car and they'll blast the radios. I've had to call the police before. The people who are in the cars see the police, turn the radios down. The police leave, they turn the radios back up. So just because we're telling them to do it doesn't mean that they're gonna not do it. My opinion would be to put a little knee-high chain link fence or something, or like a single chain, so people can't drive on that entrance off of Weir Mill Road. They're not supposed to even be able to get on the grass. I don't know what the solution is, but they they just don't listen.
Sir, which entrance are you referring to?
The entrance right off of right by the covered bridge by Weir Mill Road, right by the mill house. On the other side of the mill house.
Main entrance to the park.
Main entrance. I'm looking at it as we speak.
It's an ancillary parking lot on right near River Road.
Where the parking lot is. That's
Where
where
the
No,
new
no, no.
trails go.
trail's gonna walk through there.
I'm talking about the main entrance to the park. The main, it's like the big long entrance before you get into the playground. That's where they're parking. And I don't believe they should have access to park there.
All right, very good. We will take your comment under advisement, sir.
And I have one more comment.
Yes.
Since I live literally across the street from the park, I have a unique view of the park at all hours of the night. And at nighttime, this park is not safe. I know that the police come in and clear it out at 9:30, but 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, there are people drag racing there. There are all kinds of strange activities going on. On this side of the park, there's a gate. And when I was a kid, I've been living here for 50 years, they would actually close the gate. It was painted orange. For some reason, they don't close the gate at night anymore. And I just thought that the hours were dusk to dawn, but it's just not a safe place at night to be.
Sir, thank you for sharing your unique perspective being a neighbor to that park. We will take that under advisement as our township manager begins to draft an ordinance to address the issues that have been identified.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else online with any comments on this issue or any other issues? This is courtesy of the floor still.
Yes, so this is Mark Granahan, 2400 Weir Mill. We live adjacent to the park. And I think that the Board of Commissioners has done an excellent job discussing kind of the use rules associated with the park. I think that's very relevant and important, but I also believe that's only half of the issue. The other half of the issue is adjacency of the neighborhood and the impact on the neighborhood that the new and expanded park is basically how it's impacting the neighborhood. And I do want to congratulate the township. The park is a huge success since COVID. The expansion of the has created great notoriety beyond the Lehigh Valley to include a good chunk of New York and New Jersey, because it appears an awful lot of the park attendees are from New York and New Jersey. And so I think we've been successful at expanding the park and beyond the Lehigh Valley. I'm not sure that was the intent, but that's certainly the outcome. And another outcome is that we've taken was a relatively quiet rural area, and through the course of the week, but mostly during the weekends, it becomes very, very urban in terms of the number of people and the types of people that are at the park. And so I think that use rules are important. I think additionally, adjacency to the neighborhoods and the impact on the neighborhood also has to be considered. And there was some discussion about having enough parking. I think we have too much parking. There are too many people at the park, fundamentally. So I would fight tooth and nail for expanding the parking at the park. That's going in the absolute wrong direction. Traffic on Weir Mill Road, we live on the corner, kind of dead man's corner, the 90-degree turn. It's a racetrack, especially during the weekends. I can't tell you the number of times I've fundamentally been almost hit at that corner because of the speed at which people are going through that blind corner. People routinely end up in my driveway because they failed to negotiate that corner. It's a real issue. I'm an older person. I understand things, but children, it's an absolute death trap at that corner due to the heavy traffic and because the people that are using that road are not familiar with the road. So they're going at a rate of speed which is totally unacceptable for the neighborhood. And I think very specifically something needs to be done about it. You folks, I'm sure, have great transportation and thoroughfare expertise, but I think we really do need to look at that. Further, as they careen through that corner, they barrel down towards the park, and the new and expanded playground is immediately adjacent to a high-speed racetrack. So many times I've seen children and animals basically on the precipice of crossing that road as a car barrels by. And mind you, they have, because of all the foliage associated with that area, you can't, as a driver, you can't see people immediately adjacent to the road. It's a death waiting to happen, in my perspective, overall. I think heavy use also causes my front to become overflow parking, which is totally unacceptable. The park remains open, as the prior gentleman mentioned. The park remains open 24 hours a day. And there are people there 24 hours a day. If we're awoken at 1 or 2 in the morning to screams, to the zip line screaming up and down in the playground area. Boom boxes going on. Untold, I don't know what goes on over there. Open 24 hours. So there's not a lack of the ordinance. There's a lack of enforcement. I'm dead set against writing more ordinances that aren't enforced. Fourthly, parking lot. We have a parking lot immediately below us across soccer fields. That parking lot has no lighting. It's open 24 hours a day. It's not policed. And there's an exchange of passengers and goods in that parking lot every night of the week, all hours after the sun goes down. Also totally unacceptable for this neighborhood. So at the end of the day, I think use rules are important. I certainly feel that we should look at that. But I think we also need to realize the fact that there is, due to the expansion of the park, the publication, I would say stop promoting the park, stop expanding park. We have enough people in this area at this point in time. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Mark, thank you very much for your valuable comments. You're the eyes and ears for us. We don't live in that area, and your comments are very valuable and noted by the township, and we will take them under consideration as we move forward on this important issue. So thank you. Is there anyone else online with any public comment on any issue? Okay, hearing and seeing none. Commissioner Hodges, I didn't mean to go through old business so quickly. You had a comment to make.
Yeah, I just had two comments. One is actually related to Dorney Park. At our June 19th meeting, we passed the agreement between our police and Dorney. And I had the opportunity to attend the Thunderhawk 100th celebration, 100th anniversary celebration on 6/29. And I just wanted to thank you, Tom, for drafting those agreements. And I wanted to also thank Public Works for all their involvement and thank our police who looked so professional out there. And it was hot. It was humid. It was our first heat wave. And the traffic flowed so nicely into the park. And it was successful, very successful. So I wanted to thank everybody. And the second thing I wanted to add is I just got a message from a resident today who wanted to thank Public Works for clearing the tree at Chew and Adams Street. There was a tree there. It fell across a roadway. You removed it, you cut it, you chipped it, and you even cut down the stump area. She was very grateful for that because there's a lot of children in the area and it was very jagged. So she said, thank you very, very much. Please pass it along. So thanks for an outstanding job.
Very well said. Thank you for passing that information on to the public and the board. Thank you to all staff involved. We're very grateful for your care and concern and oversight for all aspects of the township. We have a very incredible community, so thank you. Moving on to agenda item 14, I need a motion to authorize payment of invoices and disbursements. Second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We have no executive session this evening. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. This meeting is adjourned.